Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. Currencies around the world are tumbling, apparently, except for Bitcoin. So this is where the narrative is shifting, guys. This coming out from the New York Times here. The cryptocurrency has risen 6.5% over the past 7 days, bucking the trend as a strong dollar sinks other currencies. Now, we talked a little bit about some other currencies, namely the Great British Pound, the Euro, all tanking, and this is all compared to the US dollar, right? The DXY shows that the USD very strong, surging among most other currencies. The surging dollar is wrecking stock portfolios, clobbering commodity prices, and sinking rival currencies. The British pound has been amongst the most volatile currencies against the dollar, tumbling 5.6% over the past 7 days, and briefly hitting a record low on Monday. But one asset has been relatively calm over the past week, guys, and that is Bitcoin. And now pundits are realizing it. Again, this from a mainstream media outlet, namely the New York Times. The quote goes on as such: "You know, we've reached a unique time in history when Bitcoin suddenly is less volatile than other fiat currencies," tweeted Sven Henrik, the founder of Northman Trader, a markets research firm. Mr. Henrik was one of the most prominent bears during the recent bull market, warning about overpriced assets like cryptocurrency. So this guy isn't even a Bitcoin proponent, and he is pointing out the obvious. Bitcoin right now trading at $19,000. And, despite the fact that we have seen the market take a tumble since those November 2021 highs, Bitcoin is down 72.5%. Despite all this, the currency action that we're seeing now against the surging dollar is happening at this exact moment, bringing up the DXY. Once again, you guys can see US dollar has been surging for quite a while, and that has affected the GBP. Showed this in yesterday's video. Great British Pound really collapsing, mostly since we saw that level of support being broken. So this is more recently, since the end of August, so for about a month now. And it's the same thing, guys, with the USD down here. You guys can see the Euro also breaking support there and moving to new lows. It hit parity back in July, rebounded a little bit, and then broke those lows at the beginning of the month. So, considering this, Bitcoin not doing too poorly. And then there's the XRP story. Mac Attack XRP bringing this to our attention. XRP will explode if this happens. So David Gokhshtein has now said it again, okay? I know it feels like deja vu because I talked about David Gokhshtein's stance in a previous video, but I'm mentioning it again because he mentioned it again. I want to push the button on XRP, he says. Gokhshtein repeated what he has been saying in a few of his recent tweets about the possible win of the Ripple legal battle against the SEC. If Ripple wins, he expects this victory to become a driver for a major price rise of XRP. He admitted that he is being repetitive, and so am I here, but he still added that he often feels like buying more XRP before the price explodes. And here is the David Gokhshtein tweet. "I keep looking at XRP, and I want to push the buy button and add to the bags. I am being repetitive, but if Ripple wins the case, it is going to rocket." And I know, guys, after the euphoria of last week, the XRP continuation pattern has not really been too great. This is the XRP chart on the daily, and you guys can see after several days of bullish momentum, now XRP is facing 3 consecutive days of bearish movement. But this is okay, really. I mean, this is the daily. Let's take a look at the weekly real quickly here. The weekly, of course, we are going to see ups and downs, ups and downs. What is looking like a double bottom? I mean, we are at an inflection point right now where traders are deciding XRP's fate. And the reason I say that is because, let me throw it back on the daily. It's a matter of higher highs, higher lows. And what is going to be the first point in which we see that, guys? If we go back to 2019, 2020, okay? In and around the time the beer flu really kind of took hold. Now, this was a black swan event, so this is kind of not the greatest example. But XRP did make a new high in February. It went up to almost 43 cents. Then the beer flu lockdown occurred. New lows, okay, for XRP, came back up and held support in and around that 17.5 cent mark before finally making its new inter-year high. So what is this point? Are we at this point now? Basically, we can't make any new lows. And so, just taking a look at it today, what is that first higher low going to be? In other words, are we going to go lower than this point here, which is about 28.6? Or are we going to perhaps maybe form a low a little higher up here? Maybe 33 cents, maybe 41 cents. So what is that going to be? Is support going to be broken? I'm personally not losing faith. I'm actually feeling quite confident because New information has been released, namely through Eleanor Turret of Fox Business, the Hinman calendar. What can we glean from it? Well, guys, first, this from Stéphane Hubert, just kind of giving you the lay of the land with regards to the SEC's track record. Not that we really needed it, considering we know how shady they have been in the past, but Stéphane Hubert uncovering something else. In 2017, the SEC claimed Hinman had no governmental calendar. So they even said he didn't have a calendar. They also claimed he didn't write or meet with Simpson Thacher. Lies over lies, because we know now that a calendar did exist and that he did in fact meet with Simpson Thacher. So this is just a document from the SEC dated November 14th, 2017. Freedom of Information Act request. This letter is a response to your request dated and received in the office on November 7th, 2017, seeking access to the personal calendar of meetings for William Hinman, Director of Corporate Finance, from September 1st, 2017 through October 31st, 2017. So, I mean, because we now know that a calendar exists, this certainly looks a lot worse for the SEC, not to mention some other things that the XRP community are bringing up here. T-Hole Bedict XRP, always amusing when it comes to the SEC. Gary Gensler, can we get a commercial or office hours, please? You guys are on a roll today. Now, this is with regards to an SEC tweet from just yesterday. Today, we announced charges against 16 Wall Street firms for widespread and long-standing failures to maintain and preserve electronic communications. The firms agreed to pay a combined penalty of more than $1.1 billion. Meanwhile, bringing up the SEC's dirty laundry, this from 11 years ago, November 1st, 2011, Inspector General faults the SEC in probe of document shredding. So, the SEC, pot calling the kettle black, has been accused of the exact same thing. Thank you, T-Hole Bedic, for keeping them honest. Stéphane Hubert also just posting this, just sad, hours before Hinman announces the SEC's position on Bitcoin and Ethereum to the public. He met with crypto investment managers. So he is saying this is institutionalized insider trading. I mean, I guess at the time that this was happening, there were no real rules around cryptocurrencies. And so, I mean, I guess the SEC could argue that point, although it would not look good. He goes on to say, or does somebody want to explain to me that Billy didn't tell these private companies about his upcoming speech? So a meeting on that date confirmed with management at BitPay and Valerie Suspanic as well. Continuing on, remember the email from the Ethics Council warning Bill Hinman not to give into his criminal conflicts of interest and meet with his friends in London. Well, the meeting with the Ethics Board was canceled the day before his 3-day trip to London. On day 2, Bill held one speech. And just some more documents confirming that with some highlighted portions here, the firms. But Bill, it occurs to us that you have a full financial conflict with your old firm. I mean, they even highlighted it in this email, not just an impartiality one. Hence, you should not be having any meetings with your old firm, even group meetings. And then down here, happy to talk live. My Outlook is up to date if you want to schedule something. However, the analysis is you have a bar under the criminal financial conflict with Simpson because you have an ongoing financial interest in the firm. So it was even mentioned in that email. A Dingo ate my XRP mentions this. Every time I return to these emails, they are shocking. He is outright being told by the ethics team that it's an ethical violation and that it's also an optics issue about doing favors for his buyers. Sorry, I mean old firm. And he outright ignores them and then tags the SEC in this tweet. It's just looking worse and worse for the SEC. And now that we've actually uncovered a copy of Hinman's calendar, I really don't think there's going to be anything in there. Well, I know there's not anything in there that is going to make things any better. Ethical violations left, right, and center. And so, it wasn't only this. Stéphane Hubert also tweeted out something else. I don't have the tweet up here, but it was multiple canceled meetings with the ethics committee that Bill Hinman had on his calendar. So, he kind of made this joke. Doesn't really look like he wants to be talking to the ethics committee. It seems like Bill Hinman did not want to actually have anything to do with the ethics committee. Anyway, that's just another thing that I wanted to add to that. And so we've got Eleanor Turret here. Breaking scoop. I have received a copy of Bill Hinman's public calendar covering his entire tenure while at the SEC. It's extensive. It's 189 pages worth, of which I'm still combing through, but here are some of the standouts. So she mentions Wednesday, March the 28th at 11 a.m., Bill Hinman scheduled a meeting with Scott Cooper, managing partner at A16Z, which is Anderson Horowitz, so a VC firm. Thursday, March 29th at 12:30 p.m., Hinman had a scheduled meeting with Consensus and the SEC corporate finance official Amy Starr. Friday, April the 6th at 1 p.m., Hinman had a scheduled meeting titled Call/Meeting Re-Ethereum. So certainly pointing towards obviously more connections with the Ethereum Foundation. The meeting was scheduled titled Ether on April the 12th. On April the 23rd, a scheduled meeting with Ethereum Joseph, who is Joseph Lubin, of course, of the Ethereum Foundation. And on the day Hinman gave his famous speech at the Yahoo Finance All Market Summit, there was a scheduled meeting with Ripple Counsel and Valerie Hispanic at 10 a.m. And so there are more to come. And as Eleanor Turret mentions here, all dates were from 2018, the same year that the speech was made, essentially giving only Bitcoin and Ethereum a free pass. So, you know, a lot of telling things here. Ripple Counsel, of course, we know just from what Brad Garlinghouse has even told us, you know, hey, look, Ripple has gone into the SEC looking for clarity, and we just haven't gotten it. They never told us anything. And so maybe this was kind of the first inclination that Ripple was going to be sued 2 years later. And a lot of people down here responding like Fred Rispoli, wow, so many things to add to the lawsuit. Thanks to everyone who was involved in securing this information. So more corruption, guys, a lot to unpack here. Eleanor Turret continuing, a couple more standouts. Friday, November the 20th, 2020. So this is now leading up to the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. Hinman had a scheduled call with Valerie Hispanic. The entry is titled Val to Call Bill Re-XRP, okay? A month before Ripple got sued, or at least a month before they announced it officially. Monday, December the 7th, 2020 at 12:30 p.m., Hinman had a scheduled meeting with Ripple Counsel and Kristina Littman. So again, before the Ripple lawsuit, with Ripple legal counsel. So, not with Brad Garlinghouse, not with David Schwartz, talking about how XRP was designed and, the fundamentals of the token, but with legal counsel specifically, and Kristina Littman now. For those of you guys who do not know, Kristina Littman was formerly of the SEC. And in this clip, guys, from Wheezy at Nerd Nation Unboxed, she says, there is no need for clarity. So why did Ethereum get an exemption, he asks. Here's a clip with the aforementioned Kristina Littman.
But I wanted to just highlight a few things. I know Luke talked a little bit about CorpFin's framework for analyzing an investment contract. And I think, I do think it's a pretty clear analysis that has applied to digital assets. And I think the Enforcement Division's action in this space have been very consistent with that framework and consistent with the existing statutes and case law. And so, I think the desire for a safe harbor doesn't necessarily suggest a lack of clarity. In fact, I think the need for a safe harbor, right, the call for one is really premised on the notion that this conduct is violative of the law. And so folks who are proposing or who are proponents of a safe harbor, what they're really saying is, hey, we want to do this and we want an exception, we want an exemption because this is not compliant with Section 5. And that's what the case law says, that's what the statute says. And so I'm not sure it's a lack of clarity as much as, and again, we've had these enforcement cases where the courts have found that they're clearly able to apply the law to this context. Recognizing, of course, it is a relatively new area of the law, and so there aren't a lot of opinions, but the courts that have issued opinions have been pretty clear. And then the other thing I'd point out is that, what I hear Luke saying is we want to, what they want is to say these aren't securities. And I'm not sure that's the most practical approach. I think, and Commissioner Peirce actually outlined this in her February 2020 speech where she introduced the notion of a safe harbor, that there are lawful roads to take when a token issuer wants to issue a token that is clearly going to be considered a security. You can conduct a Reg A plus offering, you can register, of course, you can conduct a non-US offering, you can comply with Reg D in your offering, you can release the first block and step away. There are ways, and for decades, people have conducted offerings, have raised capital compliant with the federal securities laws. And so, while this is a new area of the law and a new technology, there's no reason that you can't access the US capital markets or access capital markets generally and still comply with the federal securities laws.
So basically just more of the same lame SEC talking points here. Mark Phillips also just brings this up. Here's the quote, "The desire for a safe harbor doesn't suggest a lack of clarity." No, that's exactly what it suggests. What are they smoking? I tend to agree. And even Duncan down here, pointing out what some of us already know in the XRP community, sensible, non-corrupt SEC official Joseph Grundfest says it is not clear. WTF, how do you regulate algorithm? So the other thing was, Joseph Grundfest, former commissioner at the SEC, he has come out and he has been very critical of his former regulatory body. But anyway, just going back to this calendar here and this meeting before the Ripple lawsuit was eventually announced, that meeting with Kristina Littman and Ripple counsel, Eleanor Turret continues down here saying, so this was with this meeting with Kristina Littman, who was then chief of the SEC Enforcement Division Cyber Unit. That meeting took place 15 days before Clayton brought the lawsuit against Ripple. So just what I was saying there. John Deaton here, but why is Hinman meeting with Ripple on December 10th when he was no longer an employee at the SEC? So there's that fact as well. His last day was on December 4th, 2020. He was a private citizen working at an EEA law firm. Anyone who doesn't acknowledge that Hinman had an agenda is being ignorant. So many different facets to this, guys, and of course I will link this in the description of the video for you. Tipsy Tiger here also mentioning this, something he posted a year ago. "I'm telling you, Hispanic is the key. Clayton and Hinman relied on her. She in turn relied on Consensus for information on digital assets. Given a new created role with Hinman 10 days later, he delivers his speech and that very department sends a legal analysis of XRP." And he posts that down here. This lady played crucial parts in all this and was rewarded. She was the one speaking with Consensus in March of 2018, gathering information on digital assets 4 weeks before XRP put on the SEC watch list. A new role was created for Hinman. And guys, this is the SEC, the official SEC release. I will link it in the description for you. And even John Deaton didn't think that it would come out all rosy for Ripple. But, since then he has changed his mind. He recently did an interview with Tony Edward here from Thinking Crypto. And here's what John Deaton had to say.
I was proven wrong about something, Tony. I actually predicted that there would be more damaging evidence against Ripple that we didn't know about. Because we're not privy to depositions and the documentary evidence, any of that. And so I figured that there's going to be a couple of things that it might be a couple bad days for Ripple publicly, right? The people would take shots at it. The haters would be able to cling on something. And I was shocked because it's really not there. There's no there.
I mean, you always have to be skeptical at the beginning of a lawsuit. You can't just assume that, if you have a vested interest in a company, that they are going to come out all rosy and clean. John Deaton is an experienced enough lawyer to realize that. And so this comment here from John Deaton, I think actually does speak volumes. The fact that he actually thought there was going to be some dirty laundry. And, once we've gotten through this almost 2 years later, he was shocked. There is still nothing that we can point to that suggests Ripple did anything nefarious. Clearly, it's the SEC that's got some explaining to do. So wanted to thank everybody here, Tipsy Tiger, Eleanor Turret, of course, for letting us in more insight on the Hinman schedule. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.